Okay. We're going to take this so much in this parsha. We're going to take the parsha towards the end. And it's going to start with a little bit of a halacha perspective, which is unusual in our shirim. But, you know, I want to defy the common logic, what's accepted out there, and probably going to get tons of pushbacks. But whatever the Torah says, whatever, you know, when you have a car, and in this car, the manufacturer tells you, change the oil every 5,000 miles. I mean, you can't change it every 3,000 miles. It's a waste. You can't, but you cannot change it every 15,000 miles. You're going to ruin your engine. There's someone that created every creature in all the worlds. And he tells us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us exactly how things are working. And it's not because the conventional philosophy or is accepting, you know, certain facts, swallowed the hook. We've seen those scientists going like a metronome from north to east, east to north, you know, constantly. So I'm not going to take for granted anything they say versus something that the Torah says, and especially the biggest doctors of all the doctors, the Rambam says. And by the way, even though the Rambam is going to be Chodeck, which was also a great doctor, but fundamentally he agrees. So let's take, with this introduction, let's take the pasuk. Still want to stay short of shiurim, so as he was demanded, sorry, that's not the one. Stop share. So I'm not going to spend a lot. Sure. I don't want to spend too much time on the questions, even though part of the beauty of the answer is when you really put on a pedestal a question. Okay. When you will go out to war against your enemy, you pay attention here, it has no yud. Your enemy, not your enemies. But if you look in Parshas Kiseitze, the beginning, Kiseitze la milchama, the same words. Aloivecha. Now you see that here, there is a yud. Your enemies. You know, what was the need to repeat this in such a short, within a few psukim? Vera Isa sus varechev, and you will see a horse and a char. I think it's called a char rechev. You know, the thing the Romans used to ride. You have a horse in the front and a chariot in the back, and anyway. So you're gonna see sus varechev, but you're gonna see amrav mimcha. A lot more people than you. Lo yisira mehem, don't be afraid of them. I'm not sure I understand. You have one enemy, comes on a horse, and he has a child. Okay, there's some people with him. Don't be scared of him. Who in his right mind would be scared of someone that's suicidal, that comes fighting the Jews, you know, with such a little power? Nobody. So what are you telling me? Lo yisira mehem. Don't be afraid of them. What are you exactly saying to be afraid of them? Oh, you mean that you, in disguise here, your enemies are so bounded together that they make like one. And now they really have one shared goal. They don't like Bilam and Balak. They don't like each other, but they have a common denominator. They hate the Jews more than they hate each other. And that creates a bond. So you see those bloodthirsty goyim and everything. Vera isa sus varechev, and they come like Sisera came with 900 chariots of metal and thousands. At the time of Chizkiah, he arrived Erev Pesach on Yerushalayim. If I have time, I'll give you a little bit of the history behind this and a nice story if we have time. So you will see them coming out and rely upon their might and their power and everything. You can't even count them. There's so many. Now I'm reading the pasuk differently, right? Lo yisira mehem. You're not allowed to be afraid of them. But I am afraid of them. It's not something I can control. It's a natural feeling. It's a natural occurrence. When someone is in danger, he's scared. So why do you tell me lo yisira mehem? And why not? Ki, the reason being, Hashem Eloikecha, Hashem your God, imach, he is with you. Hamalcha meretz Mitzrayim, that he brought you up from Mitzrayim. I don't get it. What connection between Mitzrayim, Hamalcha, that he brought you up from Mitzrayim? I mean, Ki Hashem Eloikecha imach. Okay, fine. This part I understand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you. But Malcha Meret Mitzrayim, why is the pasuk feeling the need to add these words? Now, it looks sadistic, to not to use a different word. The Torah is starting. I'm going to give you 3 reasons to fear. He's oivecha. He hates you passionately. And please, don't fall in his hand, because you're not going to have a good ending there. He's going to, torture you and the rest. He's oivecha. And you're going to see that you guys come out from the kollel. You come out from the yeshiva. You're the tzaddikim. That all the day you're engrossed in the learning of the Torah, because only these guys were able to go to war. The Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal. That's the type of Jews that used to go to war. And you see these people, these young guys, and the noise of the war. We'll see through the Rishonim, what they say, what they were doing. So now you give me 3 reasons to be fearful, but you're telling me, Lo yisira mehem. No, don't be fearful. Lo yisira is usually a lotion of a lav. Not only I'm asking you not to be afraid, but if you are afraid, you're over on a lav. What, to that extent? Yes, to that extent. Even when there's a reason, you're telling me if there's a reason to be fearful, I'm not allowed to. So why do you try to scare me at the beginning of the passage? V'haya kekaroivchem el hamilchama, and it will be like you when you like. It's not when you will. It's not bekaroivchem, kekaroivchem. As if you will approach the battlefield. V'nigash hakohen, the kohen will approach v'diber el ha'am, and he will talk to the people. Ve'amar aleihem, and he will tell them, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Remember the Yichud. There's only God in the world. There's no other will. With this you go fight. You make an emptiness, and you make Hashem Melech al kol ha'olam, on the whole world. This is the key to the battle. Atem kerevim hayom lamilchama. You're approaching today war. Aloivechem. Oh, nice plural. Oivecha here, you know, and now here we have a yud, oivechem. So we see already in the same context, one time it says singular, one time it says plural. Al yerach levavchem, don't have a soft heart. Al tiru, you're not allowed to be afraid. One love. Ve'al tachpezu, and don't melt down. Ve'al ta'atzu mipeneihem, and don't retreat from them. Don't run away from the battlefield. Wow, this is kind of why? Ki Hashem Elohikechem, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your God, Ahoylech imachem, who's going with you to war, lehilachem lachem, to fight for you, im oivechem, with your enemy, lehoshia eschem, to deliver you. I don't want to add more questions. Main question. Enough with the fear, enough understanding. If we can understand this concept of the fear and this concept of the Torah giving us an isur to be fearful, you know, we have to be magdir. Where does it start, this isur? Where does it stop? But I can think, it's not with my mind. You know, when you do a mitzvah, the mitzvah, you have a choice to do it or not to do it. That's called the bechira. And you decide not to do it, then it's normal that you get a punishment. Here, it's because the das is at that point the scale that's going to decide I go right or I go left. Here, I don't want to have my das, I don't want to have my mind involved. It's all a panic mode. The Torah said, "V'chai bahem." We are mechalel Shabbos when someone is in sakana. I feel I'm in sakana there. I want to freaking run away. Why is that an isur? Why is that an isur to run away? What is that an isur to be afraid? I cannot control it. I go to the doctor every time because I have anxiety. And this triggers my anxiety. Torah, where do you stand in this? Tell us what's the rule, how the mind of a human, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you created the mind of a person. Reveal to us how this works. Is it truly a concept of the 21st century of these goyim that don't know the right from the left? Or is it the Torah has a very clear say about this? Let's start with the words of the Sefer HaChinuch, the Rishon, that took all the mitzvahs after the Rambam and counted them. So the mitzvahs asay, mitzvahs asay, and mitzvahs lo asay. So the Sefer HaChinuch says, this is for him, the mitzvah 525, that you are not allowed to retreat or to be afraid during war. It's an isur. The person is obliged. I'm trying to be as close to his words. I'm seeing right now here on the side of the Sefer HaChinuch. It's the person is obliged to overcome that feeling and stay in the war, as the Torah said, do not run away. And the Torah also reinforced that isur by saying, don't be afraid. Wow, that's a statement. I have the feeling of fear coming within me. Chazal that explained the Torah forced the person that he must overcome that feeling. In other words, be smart. You understand from my words. You have within you the power to overcome it. Because if you didn't have, then the midas hadin, because midas hadin, the din is if I have 1 here equals 1. You can't put 2 on 1 against 1 because it's going to tilt the balance, the scale. So it's 1, 1. The person he has anxiety. It's a tzaddik and everything. But you know what? He's never seen these bloodthirsty that just want Jewish blood. They see these rabbis coming to war. They don't even have a sword in their hands. They don't even have a shield. They don't even have a spear. But they're standing in groups and they're getting ready to come to the battlefield. That's a sight for a goy. They started, for them, they're already starting enjoying the barbecue they're going to do with the Jews. But your job, don't fear. Torah never gives a mitzvah that a human cannot accomplish. It's not within. Chazal never make a gzeira that roiv hatzibur yecholim la'amoid boy, that they can withstand it. Otherwise, we'd rather not make an isser. But here, when the mind go in a state of shock, don't tell that person after that, it's oiness. Maximum you want to say that he was over is oiness. Don't tell me he has a loisase, Beis Hamikdash comes and he has to bring a chatas and say the vidui and everything. How is it possible? The Emek HaMelech, one of the Guri Ari, HaKadosh, one of the Talmidim, say something very disturbing. I was juggling if I was going to say it in the shir or not, but I owe you transparency, truth, and whatever I learn, and I feel it will bring understanding to what we say, I must bring it. That's my motto, despite being a little bit tough. He says, every Bein Yisrael, whether he is a tzaddik, whether he is a rasha, he will go to Gehinnom. Why? As Shlomo HaMelech says, and tzaddik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta. There's no possibility, there's no completion in this world. It's an incomplete, imperfect world. So the same way, even the humans, the better humans that we have are imperfect. And because of that imperfection, they will have to go through Gehinnom. Why is that? Because even though on the outside, it seems that they have accomplished the mitzvah fully, inside, the machshava is not complete for the mitzvah. And therefore, they will suffer the consequences. Okay. But he says, when the tzaddik goes to the Gehinnom, he only goes through it. He doesn't stay. He only sees. And what he sees gives him such a fear that this fear is a kapara for whatever he has done imperfectly in this world. Then the Malach Ezriel come and takes him out. Then he goes in Nahar Dinor, which is the Nahar of fire where the Malachim do Tvila, and he does Tvila, and he goes to Olam Haba. And by the way, he says, you know what? He's bringing up with him the Rasha that at the moment his neshama was leaving him, had remorse. He didn't do really tshuva, but he started feeling remorses. There's a whole thing in the Ari Kodesh of what happens, and in the Zohar Kodesh, what happened to a person that only dies. While he's dying, he is having remorses. He is in the Gehinnom, but there's no fire at the place he is in. He just sees and he just hears the scream of the others, and he prays Hashem the whole time to that's what the Zohar says. So this person, when the tzaddik goes through, so why Kadosh Baruch Hu is taking the tzaddik through the Gehinnom, so he can at that time bring up those Reshaim that had some kind of remorse at the time they were dying. What do we see from here? We see that even a tzaddik panics, he loses his mind, he's scared. You can't control it. There's nothing you can do. So how can the Torah impose isurim on things that are beyond our control? And if you think this is it, because when I'm saying the chinuch, I told you the chinuch took it from the Rambam. These are exactly the words of the Rambam. He says the dinim of this mitzvah, that it's asur during the milchama to think about his wife, to think about his children, to think about his belongings, his wealth, his money. He has to be empty out his heart, so it's only focusing on the war. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you the most important thing, right? How can I forget to tell you this? You think this is it? That's only by milchemes hareshus. This is only a milchama that we are not bound to do according to the Torah. People attack us, we defend us. These are the rules. But milchemes mitzvah, when we have to conquer the land of Eretz Yisrael, or a goy comes within Eretz Yisrael to fight us, and we have to push him back because he's conquering the land of Israel, and this is the Kedusha, this is Eretz HaKodesh, even women had to go out. The Minchas Chinuch says that from the words of the Rambam and the Sefer HaChinuch, the women are bound to the same, at that time, to the same halachas. They're not allowed to be afraid. They're not allowed to run away from the milchama. It was already hard to swallow about the man. Now, this woman that every Friday prepares her kugel, she does a chalas, she does a chant. Now she sees these massive bloodthirsty going, making noise, taking their swords and hitting on the shield, the horses with the metal under the thing, clapping on the ground. The noise is beyond what a human and you're asking these gentle neshamas, Eshes Chayev, Ateres Balad, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, she is the crown. You put her in a matzav like this, and God, you tell me that she is not allowed to be afraid? But this woman cannot control her fear. She's never been in a situation like this. How can the Torah come? How can the Midas Hadin come? Because if she runs away, she'll die. God. We see people be over Shabbos, they don't die. However, if she stays and she's fighting, it's a haftacha, says the Rambam, says the Minchas Chinuch, says the Sefer HaChinuch, says all the poskim on this. She will live. I don't have, to be honest, one neuron in my head that can comprehend this. Because if I was using my head, I'll be the first one to tell you it defies every logic. But in my heart, I understand it. Yashem Eloikecha imach. If you look at the pasuk, it's getting a bit late. Still gonna show you that. In Pashas Ba'aloischa, the pasuk says, if a war comes to you, to your door, like the Yevanim, they used to come at the time of the Beis Hamikdash, the Chashmonaim. They came on your enemy that makes you miseries. Then take out the trumpets. You see these chatzoitros? They have no vav. I have a whole share on this. It's written 3 ways in that parsha, the word chatzoitros. One time he has the first vav, not the second. One time he has the second, not the first. And this time he has none. Interesting, right? Someone who typed there, within the same parsha, they're going to have. Okay. Veniskatem, and you will remember before Hashem Elohekechem, your God, venoishatem me'oivech. And you will be saved. Why in the halachas of our parsha that talks about engaging, in war with the enemies, it doesn't talk about the chatzoitros? I like the one in Kiseitze la milchama alayvecha. Okay, you will go out. Unsano Hashem Elokecha biyadecha, right away. The fact you're going out to war, you will never approach that war. Right away, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give it to you. This I can understand, but our parsha, I don't understand. The smag. I want to say, if you think we have reached the maximum stringency in the shittas here, no. Get ready. The smag brings, the smag Sefer Mitzvah is Gedolos. It's also a Rishon that counted I think it's the Sir Mikusi. It's a Frenchy Nebuch, what a life he had. It was so important. If you learn the life of the Rishonim, you'll have a different appreciation when you learn the Torah. You cannot learn the Torah from someone not understanding where this Torah is coming from. Once you learn the life of the Rambam, every word he say, you cherish it much more than a diamond, much more than anything. You have to get to know them. We have, Baruch Hashem, these days, we have available the stories of the Rishonim. And anyway, I don't want to go out of subject, sorry. So he says that a person who goes out to war and feels fear is over on the love. And he says not only 1, 4. Al yerach levafram, don't have a soft heart. Al tiru, don't be scared. Al tachpezu, al tarzu, mean don't be shocked and don't run away. There's 4. And he describes there. He's the one who describes how the Goyim used to go to war. They used to take the swords and make tremendous noises. I don't want to spend time on this because it's not relevant to our subject. But they used to make tremendous noises in order to Rabbeinu Yoina, the cousin of the Ramban, in Sharet Shuvah. Oh, we're starting Elu. Here's in Sharet Shuvah. Let's see what the Rabbeinu Yoina has to say on this inyan, because we're talking halacha. Rabbeinu Yoina comes and repeats exactly the same thing as the smag, that they are full loving. But he says, this is not exclusive to wars. No. The pasuk is only giving you an example. This is relevant in every situation and every difficult or dangerous situation that a person is confronted to. What do you mean? That means when a person is in a tzara, he's not allowed to be scared. If he's scared, then he's over on the love. If he's over on the lab, then the other side can be mekatreg. Then that's what the Rambam says. Okay, or the Sefer HaChinuch is putting his life in danger. In other words, it's not enough. The fear triggers the din, that the din gets even worse than it is at this point. If the situation is not bad enough for you, okay, add oil on the fire with your fear, and you're going to see a big of a fire. And that fire, the previous fire was not supposed to burn you. That fire, Chmar Itzlan, will burn you. Not you, Chaz v'Shalom, they're going. From Rabbeinu Yoina, we see why? Because when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ki Hashem Elokecha imach, it's not just words. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives a haftacha to the person that he is constantly with him, and it's your job to know. We said many times, why in this parsha that we are not allowed to be afraid, it's only using the word Hashem Elokecha. Hashem Elokecha. Not in the other parshas. It says in the plural, Hashem Elokecha. Here it says only Hashem Elokecha. Hashem Elokecha equals 92. Pachad, fear, equals 92. We have to, so we will have to understand, what is the definition of the Isur. If the definition of the Isur, that when basically the guy is chayav, when because he was fearful, or because of the meaning of the fear. The meaning of the fear means that I have no bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chaz v'Shalom. So where is exactly the Isur? What's the reason, so we can define and know what are the components that we need to trigger? The Zohar HaKadosh says, Bitchu b'Hashem Adead, we say it every day in the Tefillah, that Boch HaGever Sheyiftach b'Hashem, V'Hashem Yiftach after the Uvaretzion at the end. Ki Bekoh Hashem Tzuroi Lamim. People don't even know what are the shemes that are in these simple psukim. You don't know that in this psukim, you defining the level of problems or no problems you will have during that day. Well, hopefully Hashem gives me a strong health, and we're going into the davening and explaining, why do we say this and why do we say that and what does he does this and what? Because once you reveal the words and you start playing with the words, now they're making sense. When you say these last psukim, bitchu b'Hashem Adead, ki vekoh Hashem tzuroi lamim, ve'iftechu b'chayoy deshemecha, especially those words. Kiloi ozavta dorshecha Hashem. You never abandon those who seek you. If you know what you're doing at this time. Anyway, the Zohar doesn't bring this here, but it's in Shara Kavanis, and I just went out of subject, so I'm going back to my Zohar. A person, the Zohar says, a person has the chiyuv to be strengthening himself, and Chaz v'Shalom never come to yish, never come to a point where I can't anymore, I abandon. The Ben Ish Chai explained right on this. Let me show you. He's taking his word. The Ben Ish Chai says, if you take the first letters, these are the first letters. Ein, Yiush. It's almost like you want to say what is his name? Not the bell, the bracelets. And Yush ba'olam, but he was before klal. First letters oivech. What is your oyev? That when you come, that's the technique he's going to use, the Yetzer Hara, to make you to make you trip. This is oivecha. As long as you fight, as long as you're burning with the fire of the mitzvah, there's nothing you can do. However, once you start being inhabited by the feeling of, I don't understand why this star come to me, I can't anymore, I'm giving up, chas v'sham, at that point, you're done. You're in the hands of your enemy. So the Zohar says, the mitzvah is to be mischazek in bitachen because this will prevent you, chas v'shalom, falling into despair. And the person who has bitachen, all the forces, when the user used to the word forces, it means the upper one, the bad one, or the one under. No one can against that person. Why? Because the name of Hashem, the Yudke Vavke, on which the whole world is standing, this person is attached to it, and it's like the whole world stands on him. And if they attack him, the world will crumble. So they're not even gonna start with him. So that's the inyan of the bitachon. In other words, you have a billion reasons to be scared, but the bitachon is here to complement what your mind doesn't see. So the mind is the tool we judge, but the mind sees a dark. In the puzzle, there's a dark zone and doesn't know what to do. He goes in panic mode. Hashem created that, so you compensate it with the heart at this point, which is the bitachon. In other words, the Zohar says, oh, you're anxious, you're scared, you ain't sick, you got nothing, you just don't know how to use your tools. It's normal that everybody's mind cannot foresee what's tomorrow, because tomorrow is dark. It's not today. I cannot judge what's in tomorrow. If you realize every anxious person is always projecting himself tomorrow, or he's trying to make cheshbonos, I do this happen, I want to be in control. They're controllers, and they try to look in the future. However, as soon as you do what the Torah says, let go, and don't think about tomorrow, you will leave the moment, and then your mind doesn't have anymore this black area. You're fully fine. Your mind is working fine. So the remedy for someone that feels fear, it's only because his mind is locked into two midas. Being in control, Hashem said that it's not with might and it's not with strength that a person wins wars. Even if you're successful, you have to understand that it only comes from Hashem. When you relate things to the source, you'll never come to have fear. If you have fear, it means you're lacking some connections which you have to do. Everything comes from Hashem and from no one else. There's a tremendous Yerushalmi there that I thought about bringing when we say Hashem. I like to bring some tefillah to bring some more knowledge about the davening, but I think it's gonna take a little bit too long to explain this. But the second one we say Hashem tzevakos ashrei adam b'yiteyachbach. We never spoke about that one, so I wanted to go into the Yerushalmi, explain the depth on this, but I'll have to pass on because what we're saying right now is already encompassing all this, meaning that a person work from the beginning of the day till the end of the day is to strengthen his bitochen in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And whenever he feels that he has a little bit of a weakness, he has to, and the Zohar adds another dimension to the fear. He says, if you look at the kings, David HaMelech, when he used to go to war, he used to say to Hashem, Hashem, listen to my prayer and give me the strength to pursue my my enemies till I finish them up. I destroy them. Hashem accepted this tefillah. The pasuk says in Tehillim, Erdof oivai ve'asigem, I should pursue my enemies and catch them. Lo yashu bat kaloisam, I should not return until I exterminate them. But the kings afterward went on his level. Chizkiah Melech was a tzaddik, say Hashem, I don't have the merits to go to war and be saved. So please, whenever there is a war, an army coming up upon us, I'm going to start saying shiras and tishbachis to you. Please accept them, and you go fight at that time. Hashem accepted it. Yehoshaphat, Hashem accepted it. What is, the Zohar says, what is under all this? Chizkiyahu was a tzaddik. Yehoshaphat was a tzaddik. What were they scared of? Vehaya eikef tishmeun. Those mitzvahs that a person tramples with his feet. When a person is in sakana, when a person, makes an investment, and in Shamayim he was a gzeira that he should be successful and receive plentiful. At that time, when he's supposed to reap the rewards, comes right away the Satan before Hashem says, look, he trampled on these small mitzvahs. At that point, the gzera is changing. And it's going from he should win, from he should lose. David HaMelech, who was always chozer b'tshuva the whole day, and very careful about the little mitzvahs, not to trample them, he was assured in himself that nothing would happen to him at war. So that's why he was agreeing to go after them and finishing the enemies. Chizkiyahu HaMelech and Yehoshaphat, who didn't have such a clarity of mind, such a limpidity, such a connection to Hashem, that they could foresee the days with all the little mitzvahs that came upon them, and maybe they did and maybe they did not. They were afraid of this kitrug of the Satan because of the mitzvahs. We see that they are, when a person fears, it's a lack of bitochen. But the outcome of things does not depend on your strength, his strength, or anything like this. It depends on very simple things that happens to a person. You're in a show. Take upon yourself not to talk in show. Give cover to HaKadosh Baruch Hu when you're in show. Dari HaKadosh was not even saying a halacha. When they used to ask him a halacha or anything, he was not talking. You want to ask your halacha? Let's ask it outside of shul. I'm not talking about today those shul that became Beis Midrash. I'm talking about a Beis HaKnesses. So those, he would not say a word. You have very, very simple mitzvahs that we can do a little bit better. And these mitzvahs are the one that makes a difference. If we go, for instance, a little bit in history, and we look upon Haman, when he described his hatred of the Jews to Achashverosh, and that he wanted to kill all the Jews. He had at least one thing we can recognize, that this Rasha Merusha had honesty. He talked about Moshe Rabbeinu that came to war with Amalek, which was the mightiest country, the mightiest people. He started raising a stick, and I don't know what he was doing with it. Maybe he was doing some magic, maybe not. I don't know. But all of a sudden, all of our people, we couldn't even raise the sword in our hands. And Kim, his student, who's a bad person, has no mercy of anything, started killing them. You see the Reshaim, when the tzaddik, when they come after us and we're not warriors. But that's fine. But when it's in our turn, the table turn on them, oh, we don't have mercy. It's always the Reshaim. No. He said then after, which example he gave again? Oh yeah, when Sisra came with, it's in the hundreds of thousands of people to fight against Yerushalayim. Erev Pesach. Chizkiyahu HaMelech goes over the walls of Yerushalayim, looks at them. Now you know what he wants to do. He wants to sing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Bnei Yisrael didn't know that night's a milchames mitzvah. So if they had, so it's Erev Pesach in the afternoon. Do we bring the korban Pesach? Or because we're going to go to war and nobody's going to be there to bring the korban Pesach, it's a desecration to bring the korban Pesach. So they came to Chizkiyahu. What do we do? What's the halacha here? Are we going to war? Then we can bring the korban Pesach to the Beis HaMikdash. If we're not going to war, then we have to bring the korban Pesach for the Seder tonight. Chizkiyahu HaMelech told them, go bring your Pesach and have a joyful Seder. What about those guys down the wall? Don't worry. The next morning, there was only 5 people left. Sisra, his 2 sons, one helper, and Nebuchadnezzar, which was the generals of his armies. That's why Nebuchadnezzar, it took him 3 years. He was so shocked, the fear got to him, that when he was hearing at night the voice, go to Yerushalayim and destroy the house because my sons have sinned. He said, oh, I remember all of a sudden it became night. We couldn't understand what was happening with Sisra, who was so strong, and stones started coming out from the skies and crushing us. Voices of soldiers killing each other, right, left. We were running into each other's sword and spear, and people were dying. It was a mehuma, a panic. He was marked to the point that even for so long after, he could not overcome it. So we see that what he means, Hashem Elokecha imach, to the point that it's factual. It's not a saying. It's really, it's more than factual. It defies every definition. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with every single one of us, and we're not allowed. Rabbeinu Yoina, and it says that when Elul comes in, we have to take upon ourselves something to do better, because the mazel of Elul is Verav Chesed. I'll speak on it on Shabbos. You know why should I say that now? So I'll explain you the whole Inyan on Elul and Tishrei, the great thing behind it. Instead of focusing on Yom Adin and then being spared and everything, I'll make you focus on Verav Chesed Ve'emes. You will see where we at, and you will tell me what let's see in the pasuk, not to answer all, our first questions, because I gave you a whole development, but now I would just like to answer. I'm going to finish on this. I know I didn't want to give you deep gematrias, but I'm sorry. Hashem says to the Bnei Israel, gives them aftacha v'nosati es kol oivecha eilecha oiref. I will bring to you all your enemies with from the neck. In other words, the pashtus of the pasuk that it's much simpler to fight an enemy from the back than to fight him from the front, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring us, and we're only going to have to fight them from the back. The pasuk said, I can take it from here. When you come out to war. So now we have, so if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us, okay, I'm taking it as a given. So he's with us all the time, from the time we're coming out of to the milchama till the time, the milchama is over. This equals to exactly 674. How do you go out to war? You don't know anything about war. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes all these names from the back to bring din. When you see, you write Yud K. Is Yud, Yud K. Yud, because Chochma Bina. Yud, Yud K. Now you're going to write Yud K Vav K. Yud, Yud K. Yud K Vav. And then Yud K Vav K like this. I wrote Ab, which is Chesed, which is 72. Same thing with the second one. Yud, Yud K. Now it's in the Bina with a Vav like this, not with the Yud. That's what changes between Chochma and Bina. And Yud K Vav K. Okay, the name of the Bina comes out the back of it. Then again, so you can say Olam Atzilus, Olam Beria, Olam Yetzira, Olam Asiyah. Fine. All the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu come out. We call this again the Achoraim, the back of the names. The back is always the din. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu guarantees you that his name come out to the din against the goy. Okay. Now, sorry. That's a tough one because you're telling me now, don't be afraid. If you're telling me don't be afraid, that's the one. Lo yisira mayhem, don't be afraid of them. Okay, I better have a good reason because you say God is here. This equals 728 equals the same names. Only what we added, Yud Ke Vav Ke before, Yud Ke Vav Ke, the Rachamim. The Din, Rachamim, Din. Rachamim, Din. Rachamim, Din. Rachamim, Din. Kuf Pedalet, it's called the back of the Yud Ke Vav Ke of Yudin. So we call it Kuf Pedalet to its value. The second one, I don't have to rewrite them, all of them. They're called by the numbers. So on each one of them, when there's a Din, there's no reason you have to fear because HaKadosh Baruch Hu pours upon you Rachamim. That's what he means. Ki Hashem Elokecha imach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you, meaning look at the words. The Zohar HaKadosh, I read it to my brother today. I don't know how I didn't remember this one. He says in Parshas Miketz, sorry, let me see again. Balak, sorry. In Parshas Balak, that there's a pshat in the Torah, there's a drush, There's a remez from the side of the Chokhmah, that you can understand things from the, really you go as high as the Chokhmah. And you have the Gematrias, written in the Zohar Pasha's Balak, Dafresh base. And these are the Soidois Temiri. These are the, it's not anymore the remez, these are the secret of the Chokhmah and the secret of the Bina. Clear Zohar. Just I was looking at another Zohar there, and all of a sudden I followed it. I tried to wait for my brother. I said, man, I always remember those things, but I don't know where to find them. Sometimes I forget where, because it's not so trivial. So I forget the thing. Now we see within the same pasuk, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, behind those letters, reveals to us his presence and exactly how he puts his hand upon us. My son, you have nothing to be afraid of. I'm here. Your job, believe it. Because when you believe it, you connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when a person has Rishon is not believing it, this is where now we ask, why did the pasuk said Hamalcha Meret Mitzrayim, what connection it has here, and so forth. He could have stopped at Ki Hashem Elokecha Imach. Now we know, we have the side. We know what are the shemis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This equals to 876. There's so many other sodas in this passage. It's like so mind-boggling what is there. What are the galuyas of the Bnei Israel? Bavel, Karas, Yavan, Edoim. And who's taking care of us in all of this? Shechina. When we did the Chet HaEgel, we created a blemish into the Shechina. Aloi Vecha equals 135 Chet Egel Zahav. This is, why do I have to go out to war if you're going to help me? To forgive, that it should be a kapara on the Egel Azahav where we sinned in our heads. Exactly like the Emek HaMelech said that the tzaddik go through Gehinna. Now the Shechina is dissociated. You always have to bring her in because she is the actor. She is the perpetrator. She is the avenger. She is the one that gave the Makkas to Paro when Sarah was taken by Paro. She is the one that gave the Makkas to Paro at Mitziat Mitzrayim. So that's what the Pasuk say. Don't just do things on a high level. You also have to bring them to a Maisim. Why? Because we need the Shechina. At the end of the day, she is the one doing everything. And this is what we have to take with us in our galus, that as long as we have this bitochen and we have the Shechina with us, we are saved. Amen. 59 minutes.
Thank you.